The Galactic Empire had crushed thousands of civilizations without a second thought. Their rule was absolute, their fleets invincible. At least, that's what they thought, until they encountered the humans. When the Empire's warships moved in for their usual surrender or die routine, the response from the human fleet wasn't fear. It was laughter. And then the mockery began. "Unidentified vessels, you have trespassed into Imperial territory. Power down your ships and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." The voice was deep, authoritative, the kind of tone that had shattered the will of countless species. High Lord Torvex sat on the bridge of his dreadnought, watching as the holographic display of the intruders blinked red. Their fleet was small. Too small. A handful of sleek, compact ships, nothing compared to the monstrous capital ships of the Empire. A weak species. A pathetic force. Yet, instead of panic or immediate compliance, the human ships just sat there. Silence followed. Torvex frowned. Had their primitive communications failed? Were they frozen in fear? He leaned forward, teeth bared. "I repeat, submit now or be annihilated." The response came in a burst of laughter. Human laughter. Not nervous, not fearful. Genuine amusement. A new voice crackled through the comms, sharp, laced with humor. "Oh wow, this is adorable. Did you guys really just threaten us?" Torvex's mandibles clicked together. "This is no joke, human. No, seriously. You actually think we should be scared? That's precious. Look at these guys." The line switched to an open broadcast, and suddenly the entire Imperial fleet could hear them. "All right, team, let's take a look at the almighty Imperial fleet. Let's see, sluggish dreadnoughts, exposed engine cores, primitive projectile weaponry. Oh my god, they're still using plasma cannons." "Plasma? In this century?" A new voice chimed in, another human. "Holy hell, do they even have shield harmonics? Look at that power distribution. Bro, I think I could hack their targeting systems with a calculator." More laughter. Torvex's claws dug into his armrest. "Enough!" Silence. A beat of tension. Then, all right. We'll take you seriously. Let's see what you've got, big guy." Torvex's patience snapped. "All ships, attack! Wipe them from the stars!" The fleet surged forward. Hundreds of Imperial warships moved into formation, a display of overwhelming force that had crushed empires. No fleet had withstood this formation. Then something went wrong. The human ships didn't react the way they were supposed to. They didn't panic. They didn't even break formation. Instead, they moved. Fast. Too fast. They zipped through the Imperial front line like ghosts, weaving through the slow, bloated warships as if the laws of physics didn't apply to them. Torvex's gunners struggled to lock on. "They're too quick. We can't get a fix on their trajectory." His second-in-command turned, panic in his 8 eyes. "Sir! They're not attacking! They're just... The human's voice returned. "Dodging. It's called dodging, guys. You ever heard of it?" Another voice, dry and amused. "Nope. Too advanced for them. They're still at the point-and-shoot level." More laughter. Torvex roared. "Fire everything! I want them dead!" Cannons unleashed hell. The void of space burned as the Empire's weapons blanketed the battlefield in firepower. Every single shot missed. The human ships zigzagged, warped, and danced through the chaos like predators playing with their prey. And then, Torvex's screens flickered. The battlefield shifted. Suddenly, the Imperial tactical display was hacked. A new simulation appeared, a prediction of the battle's outcome. The Empire's fleet? Erased. Every ship destroyed. Torvex watched in horror as the simulation ran, the human ships systematically taking them apart, exploiting every weakness, every tactical flaw. And the humans were broadcasting it to the entire fleet. "See, if we wanted to, this is how we'd wipe you out. But honestly? It's too easy." Torvex felt his authority slipping. His crew, once confident, now looked at him with uncertainty. Then, the real attack began. Not a single human weapon fired. Instead, their ships vanished. No retreat signal. No FTL signatures. Just gone. Stealth technology? Impossible! Panic erupted across the bridge. Sir! They're in our systems! Torvex turned sharply. What? They hacked our battle network. They have control of... The bridge lights flickered. The command screen shifted again. A video began playing. A human soldier, seated at a console, holding a drink, feet up on his desk. He raised a hand. Waved. Hey, Imperial guys! Nice ships. Shame about the security. Torvex felt something primal crawl up his spine. So, fun fact, the human continued. I could shut down your entire fleet right now. Just one button press. But you know what? That wouldn't be fun. The Imperial dreadnoughts suddenly shut down. The lights dimmed. The weapons deactivated. The shields dropped. Every Imperial officer froze. Then, just as suddenly, power returned. Weapons back online. Shields restored. The human grinned. See? That was me. I turned you off and on again. Hope that helps. Torvex was breathing heavily now, his entire fleet paralyzed in shock. What do you want? The human leaned forward, expression mocking, amused, superior. Nothing, really. Just wanted to see if the so-called greatest empire in the galaxy was worth a fight. He leaned back, stretching. Spoiler alert, you're not. More laughter then, the broadcast cut. Torvex sat in stunned silence. The fleet was still intact. The humans hadn't fired a single shot. But the damage was irreversible. The Empire's unshakable reputation was gone. Its invincible fleet had been toyed with. Torvex swallowed. His crew refused to meet his gaze. A single incoming message appeared on the main display. A human transmission. It read, Say please. The bridge of the Imperial dreadnought was deathly silent. Every officer, every crew member, every soldier stood frozen. Torvex could feel their eyes on him, uncertain, afraid. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, yet they had humiliated the entire fleet. And they were still out there, somewhere in the void, watching. His second-in-command, Velcor, took a hesitant step forward. High Lord, what are your orders? Orders. Yes. He had to act. He had to restore control. They will not mock us and escape. Torvex growled. Deploy the reserve fleet. Triple their numbers. Engage the planetary defense grid. We end this. Velcor hesitated. Sir, our systems were compromised. We must confirm full control before. I gave you an order. Torvex bellowed. The fleet moved. More ships poured into the system, battlecruisers, carriers, support ships. The Empire's largest deployment in a century. Thousands of ships bristling with weapons, shields reinforced, targeting systems recalibrated. The humans couldn't run forever. A transmission flickered onto the main display. No image, just a voice, calm, amused. Wow. That's a lot of ships. Someone's compensating. Torvex's claws curled into the armrests. Enough games! Show yourselves! Oh, we're here, the voice replied. But, are you sure you want this fight? A second voice cut in, another human, female this time. Do they seriously think numbers matter? Laughter again. Torvex snapped his mandibles shut. We outnumber you 100 to 1. A new voice, deeper, filled with quiet confidence. A commander's voice. And yet, we're the ones in control. Torvex recognized him instantly. Commander Rourke Mercer. The one who had orchestrated their humiliation. Mercer's tone remained casual. All right, let's do some basic math. You've got, what? 3,000 ships now? A beat. Okay, quick question. How many of those can actually fight without centralized coordination? Torvex narrowed his eyes. What are you? The battle network crashed. Alarms blared. Imperial officers scrambled, screens flickering, controls unresponsive. Every command input delayed. Targeting systems looping. Mercer sighed theatrically. Oh no. Did someone forget to encrypt their fleet comms? Velcor turned to Torvex, panic in his eyes. Sir, we just lost. Everything? Mercer finished for him. Yeah. That'll happen. Torvex slammed a fist onto the armrest. Fire! Blind fire! The fleet unleashed hell. Plasma bolts, missiles, ion beams, all tearing through space, a barrage meant to erase the humans from existence. And yet, nothing hit. Velcor's voice cracked. Sir, they're gone. Torvex's breathing quickened. Impossible. They're inside the formation. The human ships moved like predators, weaving through the Imperial fleet without ever being seen. The Empire's own crossfire tore through their own ranks, dreadnoughts crippled by friendly fire, carriers igniting from miscalculated torpedo launches. And the humans? Untouched. Mercer's voice cut through the comms again. Damn, you guys are doing half the work for us. Maybe we should just sit back. More laughter. Torvex refused to accept this. His fleet was the strongest in the Empire. He had trained for war his entire life. No species had ever challenged Imperial dominance. And these humans were making a joke out of it. No. He would not be laughed at. His claws curled. If numbers and firepower couldn't stop them, then brute force would. He activated the superweapon. A sphere of crackling energy formed at the heart of the fleet, a gravitational singularity pulse, designed to disable any ship caught in its wake. It would tear through their stealth, disrupt their engines, force them to fight head-on. The humans had nowhere to run. A pause. Then, Mercer's voice again. But this time, he was amused. Oh. You really shouldn't have done that. Torvex sneered. We'll see how you mock us when your ships are crushed. Silence. Then, a soft beep. The superweapon powered down. Torvex froze. The energy sphere vanished. The gravitational pulse collapsed. And then, the weapon's core detonated. A massive explosion rippled through the Imperial flagship, sending shockwaves through the fleet. The bridge shook violently. Alarms wailed. Fires burst from consoles. Officers screamed. Velcor clutched his head. They turned it against us. Torvex's vision blurred. His greatest weapon, ***, the culmination of Imperial military might, ***, had just been used to cripple his own fleet. Mercer's voice cut through the chaos. Yeah, we hacked it 5 minutes ago. We just wanted to see how dumb you were before we flipped the switch. More laughter. Torvex shook with fury. You dare? Mercer chuckled. Oh, I dare. In fact, every Imperial screen flickered again. The display showed the Empire's war doctrines, highlighted, edited, annotated. With corrections. A list of tactical failures, exposed weaknesses, revised strategies. And the title? How Not to Lose Like Absolute Morons, a Beginner's Guide for Imperial Commanders. Torvex's vision turned red. Turn it off! Shut it down! Velcor's voice cracked. We can't. Mercer sighed. All right, fun's over. Listen up, big guy. Torvex clenched his fists. You have 2 options. You keep fighting, and we end you right now. Silence. Or you take the loss like an adult. Call it a day, go home, and pretend this never happened. Torvex's breathing was ragged. His entire fleet was in shambles. His reputation was beyond repair. And worst of all, the humans hadn't lost a single ship. Velcor whispered, barely audible. Sir, we can't win. Torvex's claws trembled. His pride burned. His rage boiled. But defeat was absolute. A single message was sent back. A transmission to the human fleet. 2 words. We surrender. Silence followed. Then Mercer's voice came through one last time. Say please. The silence stretched across the bridge like a noose. The weight of the transmission lingered, suffocating. We surrender. The words tasted like ash in Torvex's mouth. He had commanded fleets that wiped out civilizations. He had been the iron fist of the Empire, the enforcer of its will. And now, he was the first to yield. The humans hadn't conquered them. They hadn't even fought them properly. They had simply disassembled everything the Empire stood for and laughed while doing it. Another transmission came through. The same voice. That insufferable, arrogant voice. Come on, Torvex. Say it. The High Lord's claws dug into his armrests. He should have felt rage, but all he felt was emptiness. Mercer let out a dramatic sigh. All right, guys, let's call it a day. We were gonna let them off easy, but if they don't even have basic manners, maybe we should. Torvex snarled. Enough! His chest burned with the humiliation of what he was about to do. Please. The line went quiet. Then laughter. See? Was that so hard? A second voice chimed in. Bro, he actually said it. You owe me 50 credits. Another chuckle. Damn. Never thought I'd see the day. Torvex could feel the cracks in his command growing wider. His officers, his soldiers, they had heard it. The High Lord of the Imperial Vanguard Fleet, reduced to begging for mercy. Mercer's voice came back, almost friendly. All right, lesson learned. Now let's talk next steps. Torvex stiffened. You have our surrender. What more do you want? Relax, big guy. We're not here to take over. We're here to make a point. His mandibles clicked. A point? Yeah. That your empire is about as threatening as a wet paper bag. Torvex's claws curled tighter. He had no words. There was no defense. The truth was inarguable. Another voice, another human. Hey, Rourke, should we tell them? Mercer laughed. Might as well. Torvex, buddy, you ever wonder why we haven't actually fought you yet? Torvex blinked. You have crippled our fleet. You have humiliated us. Yeah, but we haven't actually gone all out, have we? A pause. Velcor whispered. What? Mercer's voice was calm, almost pitying. This? What we did to you? This was a joke. This was us having fun. Another human snickered. We didn't even deploy half our ships. Velcor staggered. Lies. Nope. You saw what a handful of our ships could do. Now imagine what happens if we actually try. Torvex clenched his mandibles. You expect us to believe you held back? You don't have to. You can just live in blissful ignorance. But if you ever think about pointing your weapons at us again? A pause. Then, a quiet chuckle. Let's just say we won't be laughing next time. A cold realization settled over Torvex's bones. He thought he had glimpsed the full extent of human power, but they had only toyed with him. He had never even been in a war. He had been in a demonstration. The transmission cut. Torvex sat in silence, the weight of his own failure pressing down like a collapsing star. The Empire would never recover from this. The humans had rewritten the rules of war, and they had done it with a smirk on their faces. The worst part? They weren't even trying. The bridge was silent, save for the occasional crackle of failing systems. Smoke curled from shattered consoles. Torvex sat rigid in his command throne, his mandibles twitching in suppressed rage. His officers wouldn't meet his gaze. Not after what had just transpired. A voice broke through the comms, smooth, confident. All right, so, here's what's gonna happen next. Torvex straightened, biting down his fury. You dare dictate terms to the Empire? Mercer chuckled. Oh, I think we've established that we don't just dare, we do whatever the hell we want. And right now, what we want is for you to listen. Torvex exhaled slowly. Speak, human. Good boy. See, you're learning. His claws scraped against his throne's armrests. He would gut this human if they ever met face to face. First, you're gonna withdraw from every occupied system outside your core territories. Torvex barked a bitter laugh. You expect us to dismantle an empire that has stood for 10 millennia? Not my problem. But I'll tell you what is my problem, you thinking you still have a choice. Let me break it down for you. A brief silence. Then, his bridge screens flickered, new data pouring in. Live feeds of battles across the empire. Imperial strongholds losing power, fleets being disabled without a single shot fired. Entire planetary defense systems hijacked, Imperial governors broadcasting their surrender on repeat. Torvex's blood chilled. What is this? Mercer's tone was almost casual. That's your empire unraveling. Turns out, when you spend 1,000 years treating every other species like dirt, they're real quick to turn on you when given the chance. Some of them didn't even wait for us to make the first move. Torvex's claws curled. This is treachery. No, this is karma. See, here's the thing, every civilization you conquered? They never forgot. They never forgave. And now they're watching you get your ass kicked in real time. Hell, some of them are even helping us. His hands trembled. Impossible. Another human voice came through, female, sharp. You know what's really funny? Your empire thought it was invincible, but you never had to fight anyone like us. You ruled through fear. But what happens when your enemies realize they don't have to be afraid anymore? Torvex gritted his teeth. This changes nothing. Mercer exhaled dramatically. Man, you just don't get it. All right, let's spell it out, you lost. Completely. Totally. You never had a chance. Torvex forced himself to remain composed. You underestimate our resilience. The Emperor will not bow to you. Oh, we're counting on that. If he wants to keep fighting, great. That just means we get to keep having fun. Another screen lit up. Torvex's mandibles twitched involuntarily as a video feed of the Imperial Palace appeared. The Emperor's personal guard, disarmed, surrounded by human operatives. Torvex could barely breathe. Mercer's voice turned cold. We could have killed him. Easily. But we didn't. Because we want him to understand what's happening. His vision blurred at the edges. You hold the Emperor hostage? Oh no, nothing that crude. He's still free to rule, if you can call what he's doing ruling. But he knows, Torvex. He knows the moment he steps out of line, we turn the lights off on his entire empire. And guess what? He believed us. Torvex's muscles coiled, trembling with suppressed rage. You humiliate us. You reduce us to nothing. And yet you call yourselves civilized. Mercer laughed. Oh, trust me, if we weren't civilized, there wouldn't be an empire left to humiliate. Torvex's mind spun, scrambling for an escape, a counter, anything. But there was nothing. His fleets were shattered. His empire was bleeding out from within. And the worst part? The humans had done it without a war. This is the end, isn't it? His voice was hollow. A pause. Then Mercer's voice softened. That depends on you. Torvex closed his eyes. What do you want from me? Simple. You take your forces, what's left of them, and you disappear. Go lick your wounds in whatever corner of space you can still hold. But if we ever catch you trying to rebuild, we won't be so nice next time. Torvex opened his mouth, but no words came. He wanted to fight. He wanted to scream. He wanted to reclaim the Empire's dignity. But there was nothing left to reclaim. Velcor stepped forward hesitantly. High Lord, we have no choice. Torvex clenched his fists, his claws digging into his own palms. I understand. Another silence. Then Mercer's voice returned, lighter now. Good choice. See? You're learning. And who knows? Maybe one day, if you learn to play nice, we might even let you sit at the grown-up table again. Another round of laughter. Torvex barely heard it. Mercer's tone shifted one last time. Now, if you'll excuse us, we've got a galaxy to clean up. Be a good boy and stay out of trouble, yeah? The transmission cut off. Torvex slumped back into his throne, defeated, humiliated, hollow. His officers stood in stunned silence. No one spoke. No one knew what to say. Velkor finally broke the quiet. What do we do now? Torvex stared at the blank screen in front of him. For the first time in his life, he had no answer. The Imperial War Council sat in tense silence, their holograms flickering across the vast chamber. High lords, admirals, and strategists, the architects of galactic conquest, now looked more like cornered prey. The Emperor's voice was cold. Explain. No one spoke. Torvex had never felt so small. The might of the Empire had shattered in a single cycle, and he had been at its helm. There were no excuses. There were no victories. There was only defeat and disgrace. The Emperor's golden eyes burned into him. Is it true? They never fired a single shot? Torvex forced himself to answer. Yes, Majesty. A ripple of disbelief ran through the room. High Lord Maldrine sneered. Then how did you lose? How did an empire that has ruled for 10,000 years crumble in a single battle against a handful of savages? Torvex exhaled slowly. Because they were never fighting us. Maldrine scoffed. Explain. Torvex straightened, the weight of his failure pressing into his shoulders. The humans saw our fleet, our doctrine, our empire, and they laughed. They called it outdated. Weak. And they were right. The room stirred, the murmurs of the High Lords laced with resentment. Maldrine slammed a fist onto the table. You let them mock us? Torvex's mandibles clicked. I had no choice. They controlled the battlefield before we even realized there was one. They turned our ships against us. They shut down our systems with a thought. They dismantled our war machine like it was a child's toy. The Emperor's gaze was unwavering. And they let you live. A statement. Not a question. Torvex's claws curled. Yes, Majesty. Maldrine's disgust was palpable. Then they are fools. If I were in their place, I would have wiped us out completely. Torvex turned to face him, voice calm, hollow. That is why they are greater than us. And why we lost. Silence stretched over the chamber. The Emperor spoke again. You claim they left us alive as an act of mercy? Torvex shook his head. No. As an insult? The murmurs grew louder. An insult? Maldrine's voice dripped with skepticism. Torvex's next words felt like a blade drawn across his own throat. They do not see us as a threat. They do not see us as equals. We are beneath them. The weight of it settled over the room like a death sentence. The Empire had not just been defeated, it had been dismissed. Maldrine seethed. Then we rebuild. We strike back. We show them that the Empire does not fall so easily. Torvex's laugh was bitter. Strike back with what? Our fleets are in disarray. Our own conquered worlds are revolting. And if we move against them, they will return, and this time, they will not be so kind. The Emperor leaned forward, fingers steepled. You believe they will destroy us? Torvex shook his head. No, Majesty. I believe they will do worse. They will let us destroy ourselves. The chamber fell into a cold hush. Maldrine bared his fangs. Then what do you propose? Submission? Subjugation to these primitives? Torvex exhaled. I propose survival. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Go on. Torvex chose his next words carefully. The humans did not come to conquer. They came to teach us a lesson. And we have learned it. We are not the supreme force in the galaxy. We are not invincible. We are relics clinging to old power. If we do not adapt, we will be erased, not by their weapons, but by our own arrogance. A pause. And so, the Emperor pressed. Torvex closed his eyes. So we change. We evolve. We learn from them. Not as enemies. Not as slaves. As survivors. The murmurs turned to open protests. You suggest we bow to them? This is treason. We are the Empire. We do not kneel. Torvex let them speak, let them rage. Then he spoke again, voice steady, unwavering. Neither did the thousands of species we conquered. And yet, here we stand, humbled, for the first time in history. We have two paths: we cling to our pride, to our past, and we fall into ruin, or we swallow our pride and carve a future. His gaze met the Emperor's. The choice is yours, Majesty. A long silence stretched over the chamber. Then the Emperor spoke. Send a message to the humans. A collective gasp. The Emperor's voice was steady. Tell them the Empire is willing to listen. Torvex exhaled slowly, nodding. A wise decision, Majesty. Maldrine growled, his expression filled with fury. This is cowardice. Torvex met his gaze with quiet resolve. No. This is survival. Maldrine stormed from the chamber. Others followed. Some stayed. Some watched. The Emperor's golden eyes burned. And if they refuse to teach us? Torvex's mandibles twitched. Then we pray they never look our way again. Silence. Then, with a slow nod, the Emperor turned toward the grand display of the galactic map. The Empire had been unchallenged for 10,000 years. Now, it stood on the brink of something new. And for the first time, the future was uncertain.